Okay, class, let's start with the Blender 3D UI, user interface, okay, and how it pertains to our class and what we normally use or often use, okay? So when you start Blender, it starts like this. You get your splash screen. This just tells you which version, okay? So the current version right now when the semester starts, it's 3.6.1. However, you can use any of our video lessons from Blender 2.8 all the way to Blender 4 Alpha. So the interface changed a little bit, but not enough to make those lessons obsolete. Okay. Anything that's new, we will address those, and then you guys can just adjust for those. So all those videos, 2.8 and above, are still viable. Okay. Another thing is to make sure that we're covering everything here. For those who are using tablet screens where you usually use a pen or a touch screen, okay, or if you're a keyboard warrior, you like your keyboard shortcuts or just interface. So we're going to cover all those. Okay, so I'm going to start by turning on my sidebar here and activating my screencast so that you guys can see the buttons and the mouse press that I'm clicking. Okay, you see it right here. Okay. All right, so and then I will hover the mouse. Hopefully you can kind of track it down in our lesson here. So this is Blender, and it's divided into modules. Okay, but before we go to the modules, let's take a look at the menu bar. The menu bar, upper left corner right here, and of course you see the Blender icon right there where you get the about Blender. Okay, but file, opening and saving files, importing, exporting. Okay, this is also for our very important thing that we're going to address later on is our external data to be automatically checked and not automatically checked, but checked so that we pack in all our textures. Okay, we'll address that later. Edit, your undo, redo, render, of course, when you take a photo in render in Blender. And this is basically pertaining to all the getting a new window, just like any other Windows program. Okay, help, there it is. Okay, so the modules I'm talking about are these tabs right here. So we have plenty of them: layout, modeling, sculpting, UE, edit, depending on how fast your computer is. There might be a lag switching between these because it's kind of like opening a new program. Okay, animation, rendering, compositing, geometry nodes, and then programming. Okay, there's a plus sign right here that you can open these again as a new module. Okay, so let's go back to our very first one. So Blender is like a super program that it comes with 2D animation, 3D animation, modeling, sculpting. It's kind of like having a ZBrush here. It's kind of like having Toon Boom. It's kind of like having After Effects. It can also do video editing, which is not very intuitive at this point because the interface is kind of clunky. But you can video edit here if you want. So that's how we deal with our sound matching with our animatic or our animation. Okay, you can also do programming here if you want to contribute to the Blender interface. Let's say you don't like their design here or their flow, you can program your own. Okay, so compositing, so it has kind of like a Nuke or After Effects portion of it. So it's a really powerful program. Here's the sculpting part. Okay, so layout's the first one. So sometimes you would do something in your layout, maybe zoom in or zoom out, that it goes so wacky that you can't go back to the original state. Okay, don't try to go back. Just simply make a new layout window. Okay, sometimes that happens. You zoom in on something and then you can't. The camera is basically glitching at some point. Okay, and it's clipping too much. Then make a new one. So all this modules right here you can get rid of. So if I right click here in the layout, okay, I can delete that. So the layout goes away. It went to the modeling module now. Okay, as you can see here, I'm already in the edit mode. So we'll talk about that next because that's gonna Probably surprise you, why am I not able to do anything here, because there's several modes in Blender that lets you go in and out of stuff. So anyway, we're in modeling. Layout disappeared, so how do we get that back? So click plus right here, general, layout, and the layout, it's just move right here. You can move, you can switch to between the other ones, but there it is, a brand new one. So let's say, like I said before, things went haywire in your layout because you zoom in, your camera clipped, or it starts glitching. Just, get rid of it. Right click, delete, make a new one by clicking the plus sign, general, and layout. Same thing with modeling. We'll do modeling also. Okay, delete, click the plus sign, general, modeling. There it is. So you're back. Okay, so, and that's what those modules are for. So I'm going to start a new one here. File, new, general. Don't save. This gives me a brand new kind of layout, modeling in the order that they were. So just in case, that's how you see that. Okay, so moving, let's open a file here. So open Kinetis Bike. Okay, let's wait for all the textures to load, just so that we got something kind of pleasing. Okay, as you can see here, it's layout 001 because this is from an older version of Blender. Sometimes it does that. It gives you this wacky layout instead because it's from an older version. So let's delete that layout. Right click and delete and add a new one. So this would be what the layout should look like if we were in Blender 6.1 originally. Okay, so there it is. So we have something visual to look at. So let's take a look at the interface again. Here would be your toolbar. Okay, and you have your keyboard shortcut for this one. Let me turn my screencast on first. Make sure that it's refresh it, turn it off, turn it back on. Okay, keyboard shortcut T is in tool. Okay, there it is. So once you have it hidden, you have this little chevron or right arrow that you can click. That's what it is. So that's a toolbar. Excuse me. On the right side is your sidebar. Pressing N would be the keyboard shortcut for your sidebar. Okay, at the bottom is your timeline. So this is for animation. So you can see I grabbed that divider right there, just like any program, right? So when you get into the between along the line, the edge right there, it changes, your cursor changes to reflect what you can grab and expand. The same thing right here. So this is your timeline. At least this is on the layout. Okay, on the upper right corner right here is your outliner. Think of this as your layers. Okay, so we call this collection now. This is where you can make things go away, not see, not render, not selectable. Okay, so basically it's a layer. Okay, and over here would be your property window. Okay, so this is where all the things pertaining to that object, its color, the modifiers you use for it, so on and so forth. Gives you data information about that object, so on and so forth. Okay, so to kind of recap real quick the screen, at least on the layout, because it still be the same. If I jump to layout right here, sorry, that's another layout. Let's see here, modeling. So you can see it's the same. None of these kind of changes. Even if I go to sculpting, okay, the same layout on top, same collection, same property window. You don't get your timeline because you're sculpting. There's no animation. But look at the toolbar. Okay, it's massive. It reflects the toolbar for sculpting. If I go back to layout, it reflects the toolbar for what I can do in object mode and edit mode. Okay, so that's the interface kind of in a nutshell. Of course, it's a lot deeper than that, but what you're looking at UI wise in Blender, you get your menu bar, your modules, your different modules, your toolbar, your sidebar, pressing N. Okay, let me refresh that screen. Okay, sidebar, and then your collection outliner or layers, and then your property window down here, and timeline when it's pertaining to an animation. Okay, we can go to the animation tab right there, module, and of course we get to see a different layout here. You can customize it. I did customize this one for my particular screen. Okay, and then you get your timeline because it's animation. Thing you're not seeing here would be for 2D animation. Okay, you can also use Blender to do 2D animation using grease pencil, and you can see that right here. There's a 2D animation, then you can start it here, or you can also go File, New, instead of General, which is what the 3D interface is. You can go to 2D animation, and then you're in grease pencil. This is another program. Okay, this is another program. I'm using a mouse here that you can do animation in 2D, like hand-drawn animation. Okay, so let's go back to our general, file, new, general. Okay, go back to our cube here. Okay, and that's, in a nutshell, that is Blender. And then the lessons will cover this, and we go very slow with our lesson and to learn how to navigate and work in Blender as we go along, right? But let's take a look now at how we can change the screen and whatnot, and what is being shaded and what's being shown. All right, so I'm going to open a file here, which I'll share with you. This is I call it Blender 4 UI because it's I'm working on the alpha for 4, but very usable right here. So when I open this, I'm in layout. Okay, sometimes the layout goes over here. Okay, and then again different tabs. Okay, so I also have all this here, right side, front, left side, and then I have a collection right here. Okay, which basically will we'll see how we can hide those things and what's pertaining. Okay, so in order to zoom in and out in Blender, okay, with your camera, okay, you can use this button right here. It looks like a magnifying lens. If you click and drag that, it always zooms in to the center. Okay, there I zoom in too much, it flipped it. Okay, it's now coming back to the furthest most position. Okay, there it is. So when we work on this one and this the zoom and the pan, okay, we're working on the working camera. We're looking through the working camera. Okay, and then we have this camera icon here. Once I click this, it switched from the working camera to the recording camera. So this is what's going to be recorded. So if I click render here, render image, it takes a photo of this screen, and this is, you can save this as a JPEG. Okay, you can save this as a JPEG or a PNG or whatever you want. Okay, which we'll cover in detail, of course. Okay, so that camera icon right there, its job is to switch from working camera to the recording camera. Okay, you only want to see recording camera when you're ready to, or we want to do a test render, see what yours looks like when you add lights and colors and whatnot. Okay, so while we're looking at this, I can zoom in, I can pan using those icons. I can also use keyboard shortcut and mouse combination. Okay, so keep an eye on the screencast right here and on the buttons that I'm pressing. Okay, in order to maximize your time in Blender, you would want to invest in a 3-button mouse. You don't want a 2-button because you're going to have to add keyboard keys in order to emulate that missing button. So I suggest you invest. If you don't have any budget, man, buy the Amazon Basics mouse. I think it's $8. That would serve you well for many semesters. Okay, just don't play action RPG games and you're clicking a second speed on those. You'll ruin the mouse. But if you're just using Blender, you should be fine with cheap 3-button mouse. If you're using a trackpad with 2-button, we have ways to add to emulate the 3-button, but it's not very efficient because you are adding more complication to the keyboard shortcut and combination just to have a middle mouse button. Okay, so I have 3-button mouse. So if I scroll the mouse, okay, I'm zooming in out. It's not registering there because I'm not pressing the middle mouse button. I'm scrolling it. So you can zoom using the icon right here, the zoom icon, or you can scroll your mouse in order to zoom in and out. Okay, so if I press this icon right here for panning or move the view is what Blender calls it, I can click and drag the mouse. I could do the same. Okay, oh, I think I panned too much. There you go. Okay, let me go back to that one. There we go. Okay, so if I middle click middle click drag, not scrolling, and hold down shift, I do the exact same thing as that button right there, the pan or move the view. Okay, so if I hold down shift and middle click drag, I'm pressing it as a button, I'm not scrolling it. Okay, all right, so if I want to scroll, I want to zoom using my mouse, I hold down control, okay, and then I middle click drag. So shift gives you pan, control gives you zoom. There it is. And finally, how do we orbit the camera, like rotate the working camera? You simply middle click drag the mouse without pressing any keys. Okay, all right, you probably notice when I'm doing this, the axis right here, the Cartesian coordinate system, is also moving. So if you click and drag any in the gray area, see the gray area, don't hit those, because if you hit that, it'll go to a particular view. So if you drag, then you are simulating the middle click drag of the mouse. Okay, so you can also do it right here. All right, so that's how we navigate the working camera of Blender. Okay, let's do a recap. The icons are available for you. You can zoom in and out, you can pan, you can rotate or orbit. Okay, keep in mind, you are not rotating the object here, you are moving about. The camera is moving around the object. Okay, you can see the back side, bottom, top, so on and so forth. Okay, or you can use keyboard shortcut combination. If I hold down shift, middle click drag, I can pan. If I hold down control and middle click drag, I can zoom. So I'm dragging the mouse up and down right now, not scrolling, dragging the middle click. Okay, and if I just middle click drag, okay, on the button of the mouse, middle mouse button, I can orbit the camera. Okay, so that's navigation. Okay, now let's take a look at how we are shading, or how we're looking at our object. Okay, so if I select this one, let's select the main mini console right here. It's a handheld that I modeled. Okay, if I click this, you can see that it's selected, because you can see it is like orange bounding line around it. You can also see in our outline or our layer that it's selected because it's highlighted right here. If I click front, it'll do the same thing with the orange line outline, and also right here selected. So if I click the Anbernic portable game right there, or front, or any other object, even the recording camera, there's a recording camera here. Where did I put it? Oh, it's hidden. Okay, never mind. Yeah, but it's in here. Okay, we can definitely select just using our outliner or layer. Okay, so let's take a look at these 4 icons right here. They're like 4 spheres or circles. Okay, I'm gonna select the first one, If you don't know where I'm clicking, I'm right here on the top right corner of the window. Okay, so the first circle is wireframe shading. Okay, so you can see once I click this, you see through wireframe on this. Okay, you see the actual model shown in wireframe. The next one is shaded mode or solid mode. Okay, if I click this, it will show you no color. Okay, so keep in mind when you're in solid mode, you don't see color, but you see your object as solid. They're not in wireframe as opposed to this one. Okay, the third one is material preview. Okay, what this one does, it will show you color, but it will not show you the lighting that you're using. It will show you the material, the color, the texture in a using an image as its lighting, so it can show it to you evenly, so you can visually check pretty much everything without having to worry about seeing shadow and whatnot. Okay, so a material preview. So if you want to see color and good lighting, right there. However, the last one, this is what you see is what you get. Okay, so this one represents what your render is going to look like if you're using a particular engine. In this case, we're using EV as our engine, which is our real-time engine, and then there's Cycles right there, which is the realistic engine. Okay, so we're in EV for now. So again, that one right there. So let me add a light to this. Okay, let me add a light. Okay, and our light is where did I put it? Oh, did it make it? Okay, let me go back to my solid mode. I'm in wireframe mode here, so we could see where that light's going to be created. Okay. Okay, it should be in the center right there. All right, add light. Let's add a point light. Okay, there it is. There's the point light. So in wireframe, you don't see the effect of the light, of course, because we're in wireframe mode. Solid mode, you're not going to see the effect of that because we're just seeing all our object in solid surface. Material preview, you're not going to see the effect of the light because it's using some other light, which is an image, so that it won't create shadow or dark areas, so we can easily preview our material. Hence, this is material preview. And then last one, final render. Okay, this is what it looks like when we actually render. And there's that light. Okay, if I move this around, so you can see here, you're seeing exactly how that light is affecting the model. And this is final render. So if I go like this, if I switch to our recording camera right here, that's our recording camera, and if I hit render to get a photo, exactly what you see is what you get. Okay, and this is based on performance of your computer. If you don't have a really good computer, this is not you're going to struggle a little bit with this. Okay, Cycles, this is the realistic render because it's the lighting is so simplistic on this one. There's hardly any difference between the two. Okay, so those are, let me delete this light, press delete. Okay, go back to our working camera. Okay, again, this last one right here, this is where you should be when you start lighting your scene. Okay, if you want to see what your light looks like, you have to be on this one. When you're working with your materials and textures, you want to be on material preview so you can easily preview it. When you're still modeling, you're most likely going to be in solid mode and wireframe mode. Okay, the button to the left of the wireframe is your X-ray mode. Okay, so let's take a look what this does. Okay, let me get close here. I'm going to turn it off. So when this is off and you're in wireframe, remember we're in solid, then we went to wireframe. Okay, you see the wire, but it's still not see-through. It's no X-ray. You see the lines, but it's not like what you would normally expect on a wireframe. You don't see the inside. So if you click on X-ray mode, you see through the object. You see all the wireframes. Okay, keep that in mind. Can you see this also in solid mode? Yes. So if you're in solid mode, you click on X-ray, Okay, there it is. Looks more confusing than ever, but it makes it look like translucent. Okay, the object now has this transparency. It's not solid, opaque, right? So very useful really in wireframe mode. Not just to see, but to select, because you can't select components that you don't see, even if it's in wireframe. Okay, so just remember this four. Let's do a recap. First one is wireframe. Second one is solid. Solid does not show color. Okay. Third one, it looks like solid with color. So this is where you work on your materials, your color. And then the last one is when you work on your lights, okay, which is final render. What you see is what you get. Okay, so that is our quick kind of UI breakdown of Blender. Okay, it's different shading modes and its navigation. Okay, again, zooming, panning, okay, switching from working camera to recording camera, okay, on using the mouse. And orbiting the camera right here. You click on the gray area of that circle. Okay. Using the mouse, if we middle click drag, that does the same thing. Orbit the camera. Hold down shift and middle click drag. You can pan. Hold down control, drag up and down. You can zoom. Okay. So what is the how do we get the camera right here to switch back and forth? One way is also use the, if you have a numpad, I suggest you get a keyboard with a numpad, because the numpad you can easily use keyboard shortcuts to accomplish the same thing faster. So if I press 0 on the numpad, that would be equivalent to clicking that button right there. Okay. All right. So now let's take a look at changing the view. We can change the view of Blender to 4 screen, but let's just do 1 screen here because it's we want to simplify things a little bit. Okay, so we can change what we're looking at, top, front, right, left, top, and bottom, by clicking this Cartesian axis coordinate right here. Okay, so if I click on Z right there, it goes to the top, because that Z is the top direction. If I click on X, okay, it clicks on the right side. If I click X right here, it's on the other side. Okay, so on and so forth. So you can get different views depending on which one you click here. Okay, so that might be kind of like a guessing game for you at the beginning. So another way to do it is to do a keyboard shortcut. Okay, so let me just center this one. To center a selected object, click dot on the numpad. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna hit this key, tilde. Okay, tilde, that guy right there. Okay, let me press escape. All right, so well, not really that one. That's one below tilde. It's the key below escape key. Okay, look at your keyboard. Okay, it's the key below the escape key, tilde. When you click that, there's this radial menu where you can select what viewport you want to switch to. If you click on front, there you go, it just shows the front. Okay, let's do tilde again. I want to see the right side. It shows you the right side. Ignore the left side that's flipped. Okay, let's go to the top. There you go. Let's go to the back. There it is. Okay, so that's one of the fastest way to do it, and when I do my lessons I usually do that. Or you can also use your numpad. Okay, your numpad, not your alphanumeric. Okay, your numpad. If I click on 1 on the numpad, shows you the front. If I click on number 3, shows you the right side. If I click on 7, it shows you the top. Okay, same thing here. If I click top, I'll do the same thing. Okay, if I hold down control and press 7, it shows you the bottom. So control reverses the view. Remember, our numpad shows you the front. If I click control and 1 for front, it shows you the back. If I click on number 3, which shows you the right side, if I hold down control and then number 3, it shows you the left side. Okay, so multiple ways to do the exact same thing. You can do the axis, you can do the tilde key, or you can use your numpad to change the viewport. Okay. We also have different functions on the numpad. If I middle click drag right now, I can orbit the camera. Okay, see it? Which is the same thing as clicking that. When you hover the mouse here and click on the gray area of that circle, that's the same thing. Okay, on the numpad, we're looking at this. It says user perspective. User means user defined angle. So it doesn't know what that is. That's why it's called user perspective. Okay, as opposed to, let's say, front. So if I click on front, which is number 1 on the numpad, okay, or tilde front, okay, it switches to orthographic. So we have 2 views in Blender, or 3D programs in general. Orthographic is the flat viewport. Okay, there's no perspective here, meaning there's no size change based on the distance of objects on the camera lens. Okay, so if I'm going to duplicate this guy right here. Okay, to duplicate this is Shift D. Okay, I duplicated it. Okay, I'm going to use my move tool here. Don't worry, we'll have a lesson on how to do all this stuff here. So I'm going to move this one in the back. So we know that's further back. Okay. Oh, where did I put it? Really further back. Right here. And we're going to raise it just a little bit. So if I go to front and zoom in back, or press dot, remember it centers it. Okay, we know the top one right here is really far back. How far back? That much right there. Okay, but since this is orthographic, there is no size difference visually because it's a flat orthographic view. Okay, in order to change that to perspective, it's easy. You can middle click, drag your mouse, it rotates it, and you're in perspective, and then you got to go like this in order to see that one. So this is perspective. So perspective is simply that. There is perspective, so there is distance, and there is size difference visually. There's no size difference in reality. It's just that how you perceive what is small and large of the same object when it's away from you. Okay, and there it is, perspective. Okay, so if I press number 1, orthographic, which is flat, and if I click number 5 on the numpad, which toggles orthographic and perspective, I can switch front into perspective. It's not really, it's just frontish. Okay, because once you switch to perspective, it's no longer perfectly aligned front, but that's what happens. Okay, so that's perspective and orthographic right there. There is no perceivable size difference when you're in orthographic, only in perspective. Okay, so let me delete that. Keyboard shortcut is X, press delete, and let's go back to numpad 1, scroll the mouse, shift middle click drag, or how do we center this when it's away like that? Keyboard shortcut, you press dot or you press tilde, and then you click on view selected. Okay, so tilde view selected is the same thing as, let me go like this, the dot on the numpad. It centers the selection. Okay, tilde view selected is the same thing. There's view camera also. That's the same thing as pressing 0 on the numpad or clicking this icon here in your interface or your screen. Okay, so that's how we change different views in Blender. Okay, and yeah, that should at least cover what we need regarding how to kind of navigate in Blender and whatnot. And then the next thing is how we transform, how we move objects in Blender, how we rotate and how we scale them, and how the Cartesian coordinate system works. Okay, so let's just kind of do a recap. Again, modules, different modules in Blender. Okay, menu bar, different ways to see the shading, wireframe. Let me go to object mode here, wireframe, solid, um, material preview, and then final render. Oh, before I forget, let's go here. Let's take a look at our layers real quick. That's the reason why I have front right here and all the other text is that, and I'm going to give you this file. We have all the layers, I mean the objects right here, and I named them properly. So I got top right there. So we have visibility and renderability. So you see that eye icon and that camera icon. We're going to add another one, which is the selectability. Okay. So selectability is the arrow. So by default, this is not on. So you have to turn it on here. You got to click that little funnel kind of filter icon here. Okay. Then let's click that. So now you have three options. Okay. The middle one, which is visibility, is the obvious one, right? So if I click eye icon, let me click dot right here, and then the eye icon right there. Okay. It just disappears. It will still render though, because if I show you here, let's do the front because we could actually see front right there. So if I make front not visible, if I do a render, to do a render, just go to render image. It still shows up because we only not see it in the viewport, but the camera icon is still on. So if I turn that off also, render image, you no longer it's not part of the render. So renderability is turned off. If you turn off renderability but you turn on visibility, you see it, but it will not render. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so if we also go with selectability, let me press go back to working camera. Okay, selectability simply means you cannot select it, so you can't accidentally move it. So if I go to front right here, turn off, let's turn back renderability, turn off selectability. Okay, so I can select everything else. Look, they have that orange bounding line, but if I click front, no matter what I do, it's protected. So you'll lock the selection basically. So that's what that one is. Okay, so yeah, so that's the layering right there. Don't forget that selectability is not on by default. Okay, you got to turn it on. So these are what's crucial for us. It will help you managing clutter on the screen, and one of them is also naming it. Okay, so I will send you this file so you can practice and kind of see how I kind of model this when you look at it in wireframe, you know, for hard surface modeling and whatnot, and how that stuff works. Okay, so I just kind of give you a little preview of it. All right, so we're going to end this lesson, and then next is we're going to go to our transform tools.